It was one of those evenings that smelled of rain and memory. Quiet, gray, and heavy with things unsaid. I stood in front of her old wooden gate, the same one I used to swing open 1,000 times back when life was simpler. Back when she was the one I'd run to after every heartbreak, every failure, every broken dream. My hand trembled slightly as I reached for the rusty latch. I hadn't seen her in 6 years. Not since the day I walked out of her life and told myself I was never coming back. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and the beauty of second chances, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the heart. Because sometimes all it takes is one hello to change everything. When I stepped inside, everything looked the same yet heartbreakingly different. The tiny garden she used to care for was now overgrown, wild with weeds and untamed flowers that fought their way through cracked soil. The porch swing creaked in the wind like a ghost, remembering laughter. I could still picture her there, wearing her soft blue sweater, sipping tea, waiting for someone who no longer came home. That someone was me. I hadn't planned to stay. I told myself I was just passing through the town for a day on my way to another city, another job, another chance to run from the past. But something, call it guilt, nostalgia, or fate, made me stop by her house. I only wanted to say hello, to see if she was doing fine, to convince myself that she'd moved on and was happy without me. When she opened the door, the world seemed to pause. She looked older, but not in a way that time could define. Her eyes still had that quiet strength, that softness that once made me feel like I belonged somewhere. Her hair had streaks of silver now, framing her face like threads of moonlight. And when she smiled, it wasn't the bright, careless smile I remembered. It was slower, gentler, and somehow sadder. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again," she said, her voice trembling slightly as if she couldn't believe the sight of me standing there after all these years. "I was just passing by." I lied. Thought I'd say hello. Her eyes lingered on me for a moment, searching, maybe even forgiving. Then softly, she said the words that would change everything. "Why don't you stay a little longer?" Something in her tone, neither pleading nor casual, unraveled me. Maybe it was the way her voice cracked at the edges. Or maybe it was the loneliness that flickered behind her calm smile. Either way, I nodded, not knowing that one small decision would bring back everything I had buried deep inside me. Inside, the house felt frozen in time. The same old photograph still hung on the walls. As in happier days, smiling with our arms around each other, oblivious to how fragile love could be. The couch where we once spent hours talking was still there, but its cushions had faded. The scent of chamomile tea lingered faintly in the air, just as it used to when she'd stay up late, waiting for me to come home from work. We sat across from each other, awkward at first, two strangers bound by memories. She asked about my life, my travels, my work, the people I'd met. I told her what I could, leaving out the truth that none of it ever filled the emptiness I carried since I left her. She told me about the small bookstore she now ran, how quiet her days had become, how the nights sometimes stretched too long. As she spoke, I realized how much I'd missed her voice. It was like listening to a familiar song after years of silence. Then she showed me something that nearly broke me. A box. Inside it were the letters I had written to her years ago. Letters I thought she'd thrown away after I left. Each one had been opened, read, and kept. She'd tied them neatly with a red ribbon the same color as the scarf I once gave her. "I used to read them on the nights I couldn't sleep," she said quietly. "Even when I told myself I hated you, I still couldn't throw them away." Her words hit me like a wave I didn't see coming. The guilt I'd carried all these years finally began to speak. I had left her not because I stopped loving her, but because I thought I wasn't enough for her. Back then, I was drowning in failure, lost my job, lost my confidence, lost myself. I couldn't bear to let her see me like that. So, I walked away thinking she'd be better off without me. But sitting there watching her hands gently brush the edges of those old letters, I realized how wrong I had been. I hadn't just left her. I'd left the one person who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. The clock ticked softly in the background, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "Do you ever think about what we could have been if you hadn't left?" I swallowed hard, my chest tightening. Every day outside, the rain began to fall. Soft at first, then steadier, as if the sky itself was weeping with us. The sound filled the silence between us. And for the first time in years, I felt something warm in my chest again. She got up and made tea just like she used to. The same two chipped mugs, the same faint aroma of chamomile. When she handed me the cup, our fingers brushed. And that one small touch brought back everything. The laughter, the night spent under a blanket of stars, the arguments, the apologies, the dreams. We talked for hours about where life had taken us, about the pain of growing apart, about how love doesn't always fade. It just waits quietly for the right moment to be remembered. She told me she never married, that somehow no one else felt right. I told her about the loneliness that followed me through every city, every success, every failed attempt to forget her. By the time the clock struck midnight, the rain had stopped, and so had our pretenses. She looked at me, eyes glistening with tears. She didn't bother to hide and said, "You know, for all these years, I thought if you ever came back, I'd have 1,000 things to say. But now that you're here, I just want to sit with you like this quietly." So we sat there, no more apologies, no more explanations, just silence filled with everything we once lost and somehow found again. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains. It painted her face in soft gold, and for a fleeting second, I saw her as she was all those years ago, young, hopeful, and full of life. We shared breakfast like we used to, laughing about small things, pretending the world outside didn't exist. But deep down, I knew I couldn't stay forever. My life was elsewhere, tangled in responsibilities and unfinished paths. Yet, leaving again felt impossible. Every corner of that house whispered, "Stay." Every heartbeat echoed her voice from last night. "Why don't you stay a little longer?" I stayed 3 days. 3 days that felt like an entire lifetime compressed into fleeting hours. We went to her bookstore where she introduced me to her friends who all looked surprised but happy to see her smile again. We took long walks by the lake where we once used to talk about our future. We laughed more than we had any right to, and when the nights came, we sat on the porch swing, watching the stars come out one by one. On the last evening, as the sky turned to dusk, she handed me one of my old letters. "Keep this," she said softly. "Just so you don't forget that sometimes the people we hurt still wait for us, not because they're weak, but because they believe in what we once had." I didn't know what to say. My throat felt tight. My heart heavier than ever. "I don't deserve you," I managed to whisper. She smiled. "Maybe not then, but maybe now." The next morning, I packed my bag. She walked me to the gate just like she always did back then. The same garden, the same creaking swing, the same wind brushing through the trees. Only this time, there was peace in her eyes. Before I left, she said, "Promise me one thing. Don't wait 6 more years to come back." I nodded. "I won't." As I walked away, I turned back one last time. She was still standing there, waving gently, her figure framed by the golden morning light. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running anymore. I felt like I was returning. Life has a strange way of giving us second chances, not always the way we expect, but exactly when we need them. I realized that some doors, no matter how long they stay closed, are never truly locked. Sometimes they're just waiting for you to knock again. Weeks later, I found myself back at her bookstore. This time, I didn't say I was just passing by. This time I went in knowing what I wanted to stay, to rebuild, to finally make peace with the love I had once abandoned. And when she saw me standing there again, she didn't say a word. She just smiled, that quiet, forgiving smile, the kind that makes you believe that love never really leaves. It just waits for you to find your way home. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who still believes in love and forgiveness, and subscribe for more stories that remind us that it's never too late to make things right. Speech balloon special request. Tell me in the comments, if you were given one more chance to make things right with someone from your past, would you take it? Because sometimes a simple hello can be the start of everything you thought you'd lost forever. Red Heart.